The Court of Appeal in Grenada has set free a man serving an almost 7-decade-long jail sentence after just 8 years. In 2014, the body of 27-year-old Nixon Dow Clack was found stuffed inside a suitcase and buried in a shallow grave. Her husband, 32-year-old British businessman Alexander Clack, was charged with her murder, which is said to have occurred on the couple's 4th wedding anniversary after she reportedly discovered evidence of his infidelity. 5 days after the anniversary, the husband led police to where his wife's body lay buried. In February 2016, Alexander Clack was found guilty and High Court Judge Paula Guilford sentenced him to 67.5 years behind bars. That same month, Clack appealed both conviction and sentence. The case dragged on until 2019 when officials discovered that the recordings of the High Court trial were compromised and the transcript of the proceedings could not be found. Another 3 years after that, on September 20th, 2022, the appeals court placed a permanent stay on Clack's conviction and sentence and ordered that he be immediately set free. Attorney Anselm Clouden told local reporters that his client's freedom was due to the lack of appropriate security to safeguard court documents and equipment.
So the court made certain inquiries. What has become of the transcript? And the registrar advised the court that, in fact, the computer that had the recordings of the judge was stolen. Stolen. Yeah. There was a case, and this is becoming quite prevalent because of the lack of proper security of documents in the court. We appealed to the Court of Appeal, saying, look, you cannot have this man in prison without his ability to prosecute his appeal. It's unfair. We argued that, look, you have to grant a stay of proceedings because there is no evidence that the stolen computer containing that information would ever be retrieved. And you cannot have an accused person in prison where he has appealed and his appeal cannot be heard because of the state's problem, not his. He had nothing to do with the disappearance of the computer.
Court documents dated April 4th, 2022 show that the transcript of proceedings from the date Clack was sentenced was the subject of an ongoing 6-year search, but ultimately could not be produced by the court. Clack was then set free on the premise that it was unfair to keep him locked up, not knowing whether the allegedly stolen computer would ever be found. Without the computer, there was no way to properly hear the appeal, and so Clack walked. Director of Public Prosecution Christopher Nelson did not answer calls from consortium journalists asking whether the state planned to appeal to the Privy Council. The news of Clack's freedom was an unpleasant surprise to many members of the Grenadian public, who quickly took to social media to express their rage and disdain. Some accused the justice system of corrupt and unjust practices, while others excoriated the court for compromising the administration of justice with lax security protocols. Another system failure, one person commented. We Grenadians are hurt and disappointed. Another commenter highlighted that all it took to dismantle a murder conviction and decades-long sentence was the reported theft of a computer. Quote, "You all sending the wrong messages for criminals to escape," they wrote. "Is this a movie?" Asking a pertinent question, the commenter continued, "How many more in prison can walk free if they were to appeal their case?" This is another question consortium journalists wanted to pose to the DPP should he return our calls.